right, welcome Facebook, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We're just about to film. Well, really, I mean, that's like an old, dated term, I guess. I don't know. We're about ready
the crowd's still happy either way.
Yeah, this crowd's happy either way. Well, we're about ready to record a show, or podcast, 2 that we're going to do today. And so we really, I mean, this is really unscripted. This is brand new for us. We were set up for radio, going over to iHeartRadio for 2-hour show. We have commercials in between, 10-minute breaks. Now we're just doing nothing but YouTube and Spotify and iTunes, and really we're going all video. And obviously Spotify and iTunes aren't video, but we send the audio to them just so you don't miss a show. But we're going to do more bite-sized nugget shows from now forward. Title them. So this one's going to be a really short one. So we're going to film this or produce it, whatever you want to call it, podcast it, get it ready. And Joe's going to post-produce it, and we're going to put it on our YouTube page, post-produce it right here on Facebook. You can kind of see the inner workings of it as Joe can toggle the cameras back and forth. Now we can also populate the internet. Whenever I say, Joe, pull up, this specific website about a bill or about the OIR or whatever we're talking about in the subject line, he can pull that up and we can push it on the screen as well too. So I see a little bit behind Joe in the reflection there. So this will be cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do our first podcast segment of the Florida 2024 legislative session as we're now halfway through. So halfway through update. There we go. All right. So you do the faux countdown then.
All right. And we're going to go on in 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right. Welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, building damage experts. We are a full podcast show now. We were on the radio. Now we're just nothing but a video podcast. Now you can also listen to our audio on iTunes, on Spotify, or any I guess just really any streaming mechanism that you use for your audio podcast. Now, though, we are full video podcast. So you can go to our YouTube page, subscribe us, like us there. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. You can go to our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. Find us there. You don't want to miss a show. We do talk about insurance-related stuff that you want to know about as a contractor, for contractors and for consumers. And I'm your host, Richie Kidwell, trusty co-host and attorney, Hans Kennon. What's going on?
Glad to be back again. It's yet another out live again. Now that we have the new format, looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is great. And we answer questions for you as looking at it from perspective of a contractor, talking to a consumer and helping you out as a consumer in your one time of loss and your need in a property related loss. And then Hans Kennon here has been an attorney for 25 plus. Has it been longer than 25?
Longer than 25.
I was trying to,
Yeah.
There you go. I do like it. And is very plugged in here in the Florida, not only as a lawyer, but also on the property team there with FJ, the Florida Justice Association. They call it the trial bar here. They represent the attorneys, the law firms, the lawyers, everybody. That's why they call it the trial bar here in the state of Florida. And during this legislative session, which we are now halfway through our 2024 Florida legislative session, every year it starts different. It starts the first Tuesday of January one year, the next year the first Tuesday of March, and it goes for 60 days. Once it's over, the red Solo Cups come out in Tallahassee. That's the only day legally you can walk through the entire Capitol building with a red Solo Cup that's full of alcohol. They're all partying. They have, and I've been there every year since 2014, and every year it still astonishes me. They have a bigger party outside of like vendors giving free alcohol and parties and like luau's, and it's just everybody's just done with the legislative session, just getting drunk. You can walk in and out of the Capitol through security with a full cup of alcohol, which is fantastic. So, but anyways, I would definitely say don't miss it if you want to go to the Red Cup Day. It's the 60th day after legislative session. So, but anyway, so here we are. We're doing our halfway through our 2024 Florida legislative update, brought to you by Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. So Hans, you were just telling me that you were on a call with the property folks over there at the Florida Justice Association, and you have some sort of update for us.
A little bit. It's one of those things that sometimes silence is louder than noise, or whatever that saying would be. We talked a lot about what's coming up, if anything else is, regarding property for the consumer. That means your homeowner's insurance. There's been a lot of bills between 2021 and 2023 that made a lot of changes. You hear us talk about, if you hear us on the radio or now hear us through the podcast, a lot of things that happened, none of which positively impacted your premium rate, other than it positively impacted the insurance company charging you more.
Right. And less coverage.
With less coverage. Now, the discussion I've had with the head of FJA was that there are no property bills currently pending before the House or the Senate, other than Senator Jones's bill, which unfortunately has not gotten a lot of traction. And we can talk about that in a moment. But other than Senator Jones's bill, there's nothing else that appears to provide any premium relief to the consumer. There's nothing else out there we're aware of that would reduce premiums or force the insurers to do that. So again, from the good and bad of that is sometimes there are years where I go, what else can they ask for? What else can the insurance company ask for? And then they tell me, and I'm like, oh my God, okay. Didn't see that coming.
They literally got the kitchen sink last year.
They did.
And multiple bills, 4 bills that changed the landscape of our insurance as we know it today, major insurance reform. And I'm not talking about just property. But auto, medical, life, all of it was affected. I mean, even to the other nuances of the who's at fault stuff.
Yes, contributory negligence back from the late 1800s, early 1900s. So everything that's bad is going to remain. But it
seems like it
doesn't appear there's any new bad coming out, which again becomes an odd way to live your life, where you're like, oh good, nothing bad came out of the legislature so far this year. But so there's no premium relief scheduled, but it doesn't appear they're trying to take away any more of your benefits or rights at this point.
And that's a topic for our next show, will be just the continuing erosion of our policy through limitations, exclusions, and these small, minute discounts in which they can take more of your coverage away. And they can be like, well, I told you about that. I give you a discount.
I gave you $25. I'm sorry we don't have to pay for your roof now.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Or we've heavily or grossly just reduced the amount of coverage for your roof when they're not allowed. That part of the bill several years ago failed, in which they brought out a roof surface schedule based on the age of your roof and what they're going to give you an actual cash value and basically depreciate.
Yeah.
No, the statute still stands that on an HO3 policy, they give you full what they call RCV, replacement cost value, what it costs today to replace it. Right? A TV you're going to lose, right? A TV you bought for $1,000, you can buy it today for $200, right? So they owe you a brand new one at $200, not the $1,000, right?
Exactly.
So that you lose. But on a roof, like the prices are only going up, so they owe you for what it cost.
Yes.
And I love how I heard this line one time, and maybe it was from Grant, the engineer, and he's like, listen, man, it's like if there was gold laminate underneath that roof covering, you have to replace it back with this golden laminate or whatever the heck it is. Like, you have to replace like with like.
Yes.
And so we see that in our Florida statute today. They have to give you 2 things, and that's replacement cost value and ordinance and law coverage. And those things are given to you by our Florida statute, and you see the insurance companies finding more ways to go around it. And so you won't see that in the Florida statute changes and the stuff that we're talking about now about these statutes that are going, these prospective bills that are going through our Florida legislature now, and that would then turn into a statute if it goes through our Senate, usually 3 committees in the Senate roundabout, or 3 committees through the House, then gets signed off by the Speaker of the House, signed off by the Senate President. Together, they become one mutual bill. Usually, you'll see them differently between the House and the Senate, and then they have to marry up at the end, and then it gets delivered to our governor for full signature, and then it becomes a bill, or he can veto it.
Yes.
So our governor is still in power for this year and the next 2 years. If he doesn't run for vice president and get out of here, which would be ideal for us to try to get some rights back for consumers and contractors here in the state of Florida. But as you stated, there isn't much going on this year. We are halfway through now. We hit our halfway point of our Florida legislative session. And if we look back last year, major reform already went through. And it was already signed by the governor. It was already law by this time.
Within 30 days of the session starting, that entire tort reform or civil remedy relief bill, as they called it, was already done and on the government, because it went into effect.
The fastest thing I've ever seen. It went through 3 committees in the House, 3 committees in the Senate, got signed off by both, went to the governor, and then the governor signed it on March 26th.
So the session started the first or second Tuesday, and by March 26th, already in law.
It's already done.
Dramatic changes to the landscape for consumers and small business owners and everybody else.
Right, and then we look this year, and it's crickets. Nothing's happened in property.
No, again, every year when this happens, I always say, after last year, I still said, what are they going to try to do this year?
Right.
And apparently there's really no appetite whatsoever in Tallahassee to try to address change or anything along those lines. I think the insurers maybe have spent a lot of money the last couple of years. Perhaps they're taking a break also. I think they want to see a lot also of what's going to happen in the insurance markets as well as the litigation markets. Are people still going to bring as many claims? People are terrified to bring claims. People call me all the time and they're like, I don't want to make a claim. I just have some questions for you. And I'm like, well, I'm happy to answer your questions, but it sounds so far like it's something you should probably claim. And people are very nervous about that. They worry if they make any sort of claim, no matter how meritorious or how large, they'll still not have coverage. After that,
that's a real fear. I mean, they put so much by creating this crisis. They put so much fear in the minds of folks that have insurance, been paying it for so long. You know, you buy insurance to cover you for costs over your deductible.
Yep.
You know, and you don't think about it much when you have a car accident. You're like, all right, well, you know, I have to file the claim because I'm paying my deductible, and then you handle it with the insurance. But then when your pipe busts or wind opens your roof and you have water inside, you're like, now all of a sudden it's like,
it's a big decision all of a sudden where things that otherwise would have been, hey, that's why I have coverage. That's why I pay the premium. We're not asking anyone to make up a fake claim or anything like that. You got real damage. That's what the insurance is there for. The problem is now the public's perception is that if I do the first question I get is, are they going to cancel me? Right. Like, I mean, literally it's like, okay, I had a bad hailstorm and my roof's damaged. My house is leaking. Are they going to cancel me if I make a claim? And all I can say is, well, they're not supposed to. I mean, they're not, and they can't cancel you. They have to wait until the end of the policy, then non-renew you. And I realize that can just be a bit of a technicality, but you can't make it, just so everyone knows, once you make a claim, they still cannot immediately cancel you, no matter what the resolution is. They have to wait till the end of the policy term, and then they can potentially non-renew you.
Right.
But again, the coverage is there for a reason, but people do. The first thing they say is, am I going to get canceled?
Right. I mean, and that's their fear. And that's what's been instilled with all this fake crisis, this fake news going out, and claim volume is so high. That's why all these insurance companies are going out of business. No. They're just bad business people. Yeah, underfunded at the beginning.
Right. I mean, life's all about timing. So for people like the avatars of the world who started not long before Hurricane Irma, well, Hurricane Irma was a big storm, so they didn't have adequate capitalization, and that's why they eventually ended up going out of business.
Right. Or the others that just open up other entities and overpay them just so they can make money off the consumers' backs, and then go to OIR, the Office of Insurance Regulation, and then get these crazy these premium raises.
Right. For the remaining company. Again, they put the old company in bankruptcy, send it off to FIGA, the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association, which is essentially the safety net for consumers. I'm not sure how safe it is sometimes, but it is a safety net where if your insurer goes out of business, your claim gets transferred to FIGA, and they again have a pooled amount of money that they utilize to then pay claims and get those resolved for people. But what you saw is some insurers literally, like I said, going out of business, giving all their bad claims or bad policies, bad claims to FIGA, and then shifting with the remaining policies they liked over to some other brother-sister organization, like we saw, I believe, with FedNat
to Monarch. Right. And we've seen other things, too, of like UPC, National Insurance Platform, that just took Florida, because Florida allows just a Florida entity to be born. So if they felt like they were in trouble in Florida, what'd they do? They dumped all of their claims from that last hurricane and the last spike of claims, dropped them off to FIGA, and then sold their policies, all the good stuff, over to Slide. There you go, Bruce again, winning again.
Bruce Lucas.
Yeah, Bruce Lucas, who founded Heritage and now founded Slide, and then started off by getting money from Citizens, which is crazy because he took their takeout policies, about 400,000 policies back in 2014. I mean, good for him. The Enron CFO guy, then he hits his low, right, and then hits a home run here in Florida. Anyways, good for you, Bruce. I'm not downing you. I'm actually like high five. Good job, man. Yeah. We need to talk.
I got to agree. I have to agree.
I'm green with envy right now.
He's green with money.
Yeah, he is. I'm just envious. He's green with everything else. Damn it, I didn't think about that first. Either way, so here we are now, and just going back to our topic of just being halfway through this legislative session, nothing's going on. There's a bill sponsored by the minority leader, which is our Democratic leader. His name is Chevron Jones, Senator Jones. Great guy. From what I understand, he's going to run for governor. And I hope to God that he actually gets traction. Unfortunately, he's a Democrat in a state that's just super Republican rich right now, and the power is really shifted over to the Republicans. Even though I'm Republican, Jesus, man, too much power. I'm just telling you, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and that's what we just saw.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
It does, man, and I'm just shaking my head, man, because it's like we literally had a great governor turn into a dictator because the money that he got paid from the insurance lobby to do their bidding, and he became the bitch for the insurance lobby and also a dictator, a very powerful dictator at that, to where the Senate president even announced that she was happy, and so was the Speaker of the House, Renner, excited to have a governor that was running for president and would be excited to absolutely do his bidding.
Yep. I believe she said that the governor has an agenda and we're here to fulfill it.
It's crazy. I mean, get the knee pads out. I mean, it's like there's no trying at all. It's just like and we couldn't do anything. We saw the bills come out on Friday night. Get signed into law or through the committees rather on Monday. Nobody had a chance to read it, understand it. 100 pages of very significant law change.
And what did they give it out? A minute? Was it a minute a comment everybody got?
Yeah.
It was some. It wasn't.
They still filled the rooms with people that were like, "No, this is wrong. You can't do this."
Right.
Like I was, severely injured because of the effects of not getting paid by my insurance company years and years and years. And after Hurricane Michael, and you heard stories from Irma, and you heard all these stories, and we're just like, and they still were like, "Oh, I'm sorry about you." Next, just shut it down.
Time is up.
And they're callous like that because they got their ruling ahead of time. They already had their marching orders before they walked in there. I heard it myself. I was in Tallahassee. I heard the rumors. The governor said, listen, and this was in between where they changed the seats from in November is when they changed the seats, and then a new cabinet came in for the Senate and for the House. So the power shifted, and between that, the governor is going around saying, if anybody votes against me, changes a letter, amends it, anything, all the Republicans and said, I will run somebody against you in the primary and you will lose that seat, or if I don't put anybody against you, I will ensure that you don't have any good committees, any power in any committees. You will be just a lame duck doing nothing. Yeah. Right. And so everybody were scared, and they did exactly his bidding, and they let him do whatever. The bills came out of the governor's office. I mean, even when I filed through the Restoration Association of Florida, our members and myself filed suit against the major change and called it unconstitutional. Yeah. And who responded? Because I didn't sue the governor's office. You can't. right. You can sue the licensing board, construction licensing board, DBPR. So we did. Who answered the complaint? The governor's office. And I was like, what? Why is the governor's office? And then months later, we got a motion to dismiss. No, well, the motion to dismiss was written by the governor's office. Right. Well, we got a motion to, what was it, to
intervene.
Yeah, intervene by the governor's office and citizens and everybody were like, how the hell?
I can't sue them, but they can still participate.
So they intervened because the judge allowed it, and then the very next hour they did the motion to dismiss, and then granted the motion to dismiss because it was too much of a big thing for the governor and for the state, for the people of the state. And I'm like, what? You were literally screwing all the consumers in the state of Florida by taking away their one thing that they need to have. Like, if I'm suing for a $10,000 roof, I need every penny for my roof. That's the indemnity. That's how much you owe me. Right. Now you're telling me I have to pay out of my own pocket? And that's when I ran into John Morgan a couple months back, and he was like, "Yeah, that's why I'm not really interested in doing property right now. I don't want to look somebody in the face when on a $10,000 roof and say, hey, we did our best and we got you all your money, but here's $6,000,
right?
And I'm sorry you can't afford the rest. So what do you expect somebody to do with that $6,000? I have a $10,000. That's what you owe is $10,000. Same thing on life benefits now or auto accident stuff and." Man, this is crazy.
And what we've really found is with the folks on the property side is while I understand John's concerns, the people are coming to us because they still want some justice. They still want some payment from their insurer for bills that should have been paid, even if they're getting less. I mean, again, that's a hard conversation to have after 25 years of being a lawyer. What we're talking about is until last year, the insurer paid my fees and costs above and beyond the amount they owed the insured. The legislature decided that the consumer was in a better position somehow to pay that to me than the insurer, changed 110 years of case law. But again, so with that, I have to have conversations now where I say, look, this is what you're probably going to net, and it's not going to make you whole. Sometimes we still work it out as best we can. But there are conversations we have to have sometimes where we have to tell people, like Richie just said, you're owed 10, after fees and costs, we'll get you 6. And luckily people are not very happy about that, but they realize that
something's better than nothing,
and that they came to me with number 0, and we got them a good head start. But it's a uncomfortable conversation that really should never have to occur.
Right. It really shouldn't. And before the last legislative session, that was exactly it. And the same for contractors. Contractors had the right to be able to say, take a valid assignment of benefits, just like your doctor's office, just like your windshield person, just like anybody working in insurance who's a contractor or a specialist or any service provider can then take what they call an assignment of benefits. And prior to this year, we were able to freely assign your rights and benefits on your auto policy. It's like if you want to call somebody that's not State Farm, State Farm and Safe Light are the same, whatever.
Right.
To replace your windshield, you can hire anybody off the street, and that's what I preferred. I never called Safe Light because I'm like, no, I want somebody that's really cares and that's going to put in the real windshield replacement and not like some aftermarket stuff to save money.
Yeah.
And now you can't even do that anymore. They killed that last year in the legislative session by putting this major tort reform through that took away all the attorney's fees, and then they banned assignment of benefits, made it invalid, and then also made auto shops invalid that take an assignment of benefits. They literally killed the auto world. They killed the property world. They killed vendors like myself doing smaller invoices on assignment of benefits. A lot of remediation companies out of business. A lot of roofing contractors out of business.
Yeah.
And because they were able to then work with the insurance company and help the homeowner out, but they want to silence those skilled service providers, like the doctors, like the skilled folks that put in the windshields, the contractor folks, the roofers that are sophisticated enough to make sure that they get paid, and will educate the homeowner and walk them hand in hand, get them paid, put their roof on, what's validly owed under the policy. They want to silence that, and they're doing that. They did a very good job of it this last year.
They did.
And they only had to pay $100 million to our governor.
Which all got spent.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember the article in the New York Times. I think he spent $158 million between the PAC, the Political Action Committee, and his own personal, and the actual presidential race. And the Times said basically he spent $158 million to get 19,000 votes in Iowa, then he quit. So again,
got some explaining to do, son.
Yeah, you would think there'd be a lot to do, but with that said, we're talking about the windshield auto glass too. Is that Safe Light obviously controls most of that market now for the insurance company, and never forget they make the glass. I mean, they're not just like some big installation company. They make the glass that they put in your car. So they don't. I'm not aware of them making any of the cars that I've had over the years have Safe Light glass as the OEM product. I've not seen that. Now, maybe they do somewhere, and maybe I'm wrong about that. But I can tell you the cars that in our driveway don't have Safe Light auto glass in them as the factory glass. Whenever you don't have factory glass, especially these days when windshields have so many electronics in them for cameras and everything else, you get bad glass, you get bad results, and people die.
Yeah, for real. I mean, so many big changes last year, and then it looks again. This year, Very quiet. We don't see major change happening right now. We are halfway through legislative session. We have Senate Bill 0102 by Senator Jones. It hasn't been heard by any committees, and usually by this time, some of the committees have already retired.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem like there's a big chance, any chance at all, for any bill that will change property damage or property insurance or even auto insurance is going to happen this year.
It doesn't look like that's going to get any traction either. Apparently, the legislature, we're talking about the mandatory bodily injury bill, which would replace the existing no-fault system with mandatory bodily injury. That bill's come up the last
couple of years,
last 17 that I can think of, and is yet to pass. 1 year did get through the House and Senate. The governor vetoed it. I think that was 2 years ago.
Right.
Last year, I think again got.
That was an increase from 10 to 25,000.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of it gives really a completely different set of coverages. But that didn't make it either. And this year, it doesn't appear it's going to even get out of committee, much less make it to the floor.
Wow. So that's officially your update.
Yeah.
Is that there is no update so far.
Somehow it took us 25 minutes to tell you there's nothing happening.
That's right.
But
there's a lot of context back there in comparison to last year. This time, major reform.
Yeah.
I mean, you even had Dan Newland going up there, trying to talk to the governor and all that this time last year. Well, even before that, this time last year, everybody trying to make their mark to not have all that major reform happen. And it still did. Not a period, not a comma, not anything would change last year. Now you look at this year, nothing for insurance, any change for insurance premiums. No reductions, nothing like that. A lot of this stuff goes through the Office of Insurance Regulation. And that's what we're going to talk about on our next podcast is going to be about these exclusion limitations.
Yeah.
There's this new one about 1% of the undamaged material to be now a new cap, 1% of coverage A on. There's always been a matching statute here in the state of Florida where they have to match like, kind, color, material. They have to match uniformity and continuance of the material. So if you're in a certain room and the floor is damaged, they owe for that damaged area, and then they owe for the continuity of it. I probably said that wrong, but for the rest of the floor as it continues through the house, whatever.
Right.
And so they owe for that. But now they've been sticking in these crazy exclusions now, or caps or limitations rather, to where I would say cap, 1% cap of this matching stuff. So we're going to talk about that next. If you're interested about it, we'll talk about that and more. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Today, we just discussed about what's going on in the Florida legislative session. Halfway through session, nothing's happening. No major changes going on. And we'll keep you updated as we get closer to the end of our Florida legislative session here on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We'll talk to you guys later. See you.